Well, thank you, Joe. Good morning, everyone. Buenos dias. I'm happy to be here with NDN's presentation. It's really a pleasure to be with NDN, with Joe Garcia and my friend Simon Rosenberg, who has done such incredible work over these years. A few years ago, I went to see Simon, and I said, you know, no one really in the Democratic Party gets this in terms of the universe that is Latino voters in this country. And we really need to do some research, some work in order to pursue a more successful strategy. And of everybody who I talked to, only Simon Rosenberg and NDN got it. And they have continued to pursue it for quite some time. It's one of those commodities around here that often is in short supply. It's called vision. They've had the vision, and they've continued with that vision, and they've built it, and I'm appreciative of it. And I think the depth of that vision is going to be more apparent as we get to the elections in 2008. So I want to salute Simon and NDN for what they've done. And of course, Joe Garcia has taken this on in the last year or two. I'm not going to go on very long today because I know the real experts are going to speak to you in just a minute. I won't mention a whole host of statistics, although I could, because I think any statistic that is of value is likely going to be made in Simon's presentation, so I don't want to repeat it as well. But if there's one thought that I want to put out there today is about the Hispanic vote, is that the Republicans' harsh rhetoric about immigration just didn't change the political landscape. It changed how we as Hispanic voters see ourselves. Two words I often heard used on the floor of the Senate during those debates by some of our Republican colleagues: those people, those people. I understand what those people mean, having spent 33 years in public service, being often the first in my home state of New Jersey to be the first Latino mayor, the first Latino state senator, the first Latino member of the House of Representatives, and certainly not only the first Latino, but the first minority member to be elected statewide in my state. I understand what the words "those people" mean. And it really shocked me to hear it on the floor of the Senate. I think most of us from our community understand what the words "those people" mean and the effect it's supposed to have. And in this respect, we're talking about much more than undocumented workers. We are talking about the entire Latino community, from the most high and mightiest to the most humble in our community. For those of us who have worked hard every day, for those of us who have served our nation in countless ways, for those of us who have managed to succeed despite the odds, this was an attack on all of us. And in doing so, I believe Republicans showed their true colors. Last year, when we heard former Senator Conrad Burns joke about the, quote, nice little Guatemalan man working on his house, or last week when we heard Mitt Romney talk about people with a, quote, funny accent, the message was the same. Republicans are willing to use Hispanics as political scapegoats in order to avoid talking and dealing with the real issues of the day. So when Republicans started talking about those people, it speeded our march towards the Democratic camp. We saw this in 2006. We certainly saw it in certain local and state elections in this year of 2007, and I think we're going to see it dramatically in 2008. But immigration isn't the only issue that has led Hispanics to the Democratic Party. I think it's a general lack of understanding on the part of Republicans as to how the agenda of the Hispanic community in this country is within an American agenda. And I just want to give you some examples of that. We're all concerned about health care in this country. We're concerned about the 47 million Americans who have no health insurance, but Republicans don't understand that within that context, Hispanics are the single largest element of the community to have the least insurance. And Republicans not only don't understand that, they have no solution. Our educational systems are in challenge, but Republicans don't seem to understand that almost half of Hispanic high school students don't graduate, and they have no solution. As a matter of fact, we had, working with the Congressional Hispanic Caucus under the Clinton years, we had a program geared specifically towards trying to reduce the Hispanic dropout rate, and it was under the Bush administration that that program was eliminated. We had begun to make success. And so those are the lacks of sensitivities that exist. Our nation is facing the prospect of an endless war in Iraq, and Republicans don't seem to understand that Hispanic men and women in uniform make up a very significant percentage of those putting their lives on the line every day. As a matter of fact, the first casualty in Iraq was Hispanic. They certainly wouldn't be saying what they say about Hispanics in general if they did. But the success of Democratic candidates is going to depend to a large degree next year on how they decide to stand up for an agenda to tackle those problems head on, and how well they exhibit their understanding of what Republicans do not. So here's the bottom line. If we as Democrats communicate on these vital issues that we stand, I think, largely and squarely with the Hispanic community on health care, on education, on economic empowerment, on immigration, and on Iraq. But if we show our understandings that within all of those issues that all Americans care about, the unique consequences to the Hispanic community as a subtext of those major national issues, then we're going to have a record Latino vote and a Democratic president. And then one final other line. That's the political bottom line. But I think there's also a moral bottom line as well. When Mother Teresa was asked what others could do to advance peace in the world, she said simply, go home and love your family. In the immigration debate, that kind of thinking has been in far too short supply. Human compassion has certainly, I saw the Republican debate the other night, it just want who can outright the other on the question of how harsh we can be on immigration. I hope that they remember that there's going to be a general election after the Republican primary, and that the road to the White House, as you'll see in this presentation, to a large degree comes right through Hispanic communities. If you look at where the greatest Hispanic populations are in the country, they are situated in states that ultimately provide nearly the number of electoral votes necessary to elect the next president of the United States. How they go from the language of their Republican primary to the language necessary in the general election to win that is beyond my idea, my comprehension. But that is where they're at. And that is, I believe, at the end of the day, where they show their true colors. So the time that the type of language of human compassion along the way here, as one America, is shown by a candidate, it's ultimately going to provide not only a better America, but a harvest of rich votes, no matter what the ethnicity of the voter. I think that's the incredible opportunity that Americans of Hispanic descent have in this election. They have been waking for a long time. They are poised to make the single most significant difference. The only challenge is for those of us who are leaders from the community across the spectrum of that leadership is to make sure that they exercise their franchise. If they do it on that day, they will probably make the single difference, not only in choosing the candidates in the parties in the primary context, but certainly in the general election can be the deciding difference. And I think the percentage of votes you'll see Republicans get will diminish dramatically from the progress they have made. Just as Pete Wilson drove Latinos out from California, this crop of candidates has clearly shown us where they stand with our community, and they do not stand with us.